Lakeboat was released in 2000. This was directed by Joe Mantegna, written by David Mamet, and we have a cast including George Wendt, which is why I watched it. And unfortunately, it's not one of those films where I take a chance based on the cast and end up finding a hidden gem, end up finding a treasure, because I really did not get on with this at all. And I did a little bit of reading around about it afterwards, and I'll share some information that I found that might be interesting, but personally, other than teaching me a little something, I didn't really care for this at all. I'll read the description from IMDb, which describes it well without giving away any spoilers. And this says, it's a film adaptation of David Mamet's comic play Lakeboat about a grad student who takes a summer job on a Great Lakes freighter and sees life through the eyes of his lowbrow crew members. And the fact that it's based on a play is quite interesting. I haven't seen the play, I've never read the play, but I will say they made a great use of the cinematography aspect, because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than when somebody turns a stage play into a film and they basically stage it like it's a play. What's the point? If you're going to turn it into a film, at least utilize the storytelling that the film capacity has and have camera angles and different focal points, and all of that definitely is presented very well. We get a lot of different perspectives, we get a lot of different things to look at, different aspects. We're on the boat, we're on land. They made a good job of that, so I'm not complaining about that at all. And for me, though, I mean, the acting's fine, and I guess it's well written, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, but the narrative isn't really there. It is about this grad student who's on this freighter and just interacting with the other crew members in the various conversations and these little slices of life. And honestly, because I found the characters very boring, I didn't care for it, because there's not a really strong narrative, and I wasn't really caring for anything that the characters were saying or doing. So for me personally, it didn't really offer anything. But I will share some information that I read that some people might find interesting. I should also point out that opinions seem to be very divided. I had a quick look at reviews on IMDb after watching it. I didn't read them in too many detail, but basically it seems like people either really, really love this, or like me, they just don't understand the point. They didn't find anything interesting in it. So while I'm saying I didn't care for it, and I don't think it's that interesting, there seems to be an audience for it. So if it appeals to you, ignore what I'm saying and check it out, because maybe you'll like it. What I was going to say as well is that according to IMDb, it focuses on something called Mamet speak, which obviously is connected to the writer, and I googled it, and basically it's referring to very real kind of real life dialogue where it's very believable. Characters talk over each other, and honestly, I can see that. And I think that that's definitely a credit. I didn't find what they were saying to be interesting, but I do think that the conversations felt very realistic and very believable. And that's not always the case with films or plays. Often the dialogue feels like somebody's written it, but I will say credit where it's due. It felt very natural, it felt very believable. And it seems like there's an audience for this with fans of the writer's work. I had never heard of the writer, to my knowledge, at least I don't think I had. And I will say, yeah, the dialogue's well written, it's just not fascinating to me. Other people might find it more interesting, but apart from George Wendt, I didn't really care for it. And that's not to say I liked his character very much. I was completely indifferent to pretty much everybody's character. I didn't dislike anybody. I just didn't care for anybody either. So, yes, if it is an adaptation of a stage play, then I think they've done a good job with making it a film. Because as I said, it's so frustrating when somebody adapts a stage play and they stage it like it's a stage play and then just stick a camera or a couple of cameras in front of the stage. That's not the case here, thankfully, and I think that worked quite well. Obviously, I can't comment on how well it's adapted based on the text, but visually, it's pretty good. Yes, the dialogue feels very realistic. No, I didn't care for what the characters were saying. Personally, I didn't like Lakeboat. I don't understand the appeal, but it seems like some people really enjoyed it. So if there's anything about this that is maybe drawing you to it, then maybe it's worth checking out.